So what about you and your COVID? Because you got COVID, didn't you? Are you?
Yeah. We got COVID when we were in Ontario visiting for Christmas.
Oh, great.
And I don't know if I told you this or not, but the ironic thing is it was a family member that told us we were no longer allowed to visit because I was vaccine hesitant, right?
Yeah.
And they said you're never allowed to come back here until you get that shot. And I happily said that's fine. I'll never talk to you again then. And we didn't. We moved to Nova Scotia since then, and they were angry we didn't say goodbye. We said goodbye by phone, but we didn't visit them or anything. And so I guess I assumed they had just let the hysteria die down, and their actions are forgiven apparently, because mine have been forgotten or whatever. Maybe they think they forgave me. I don't know. But so we went there, and they didn't tell us they had COVID. They still lied to us about whether or not they had COVID. They just said we've been there for 3 or 4 hours with Mackenzie having dinner. They were making us drinks and food and everything. And then where we're finishing up dinner, Uncle Tim says, "Hey, I haven't been feeling that well, but I'm pretty sure I'm not contagious anymore." That's all he said. He goes, "Don't worry, it's not COVID." And we're like, "What the hell, man?" Like I would have been a little more cautious, And the aunt her nose was running all day, and apparently we were told that's been going on for years. Like she's had a runny nose since she got her vaccine. Apparently, I'm not even kidding. That's
oh wow.
So they just acted like it was normal, and then a couple days later, I'm starting to feel the itch in the throat from the swollen glands, and starting to feel a bit feverish. And I was on my way home, like in the middle of a 20-hour long drive, and I started getting really sick.
All right.
And Megan was getting sick, so we ended up having to stop and spend $200 in a hotel room and spend the night instead of making the whole drive.
Oh wow.
I just couldn't do it. And then we got home and we had rapid test here, right? So I just grabbed one of the COVID tests that we had and tested myself, and you're supposed to wait 15 minutes to get a result. It told me I was positive within 30 seconds. The viral load was so heavy, and Megan tested positive as well. So we spent the next 3 or 4 days in our bedroom, just hiding away from because I don't want to make anybody else sick. But then I gave my mom COVID and she got pretty sick. She spent about a week in bed. So I felt terrible, and the sad thing is too, like my mother, she's vaccinated too. She is vaccinated and we're not. And she got just as sick as we did, if not sicker. So I don't know what that tells you. It's just kind of it pissed me off considering who did it and the scenario and whatnot, but we're fine. Mackenzie, her sleep was all messed up, but she's starting to get back to her normal sleep patterns, and no one had to go to the hospital or anything, so no big deal. And the messed up thing is like, I don't know about you or your experiences with COVID, but this is the second time I've got hit pretty hard with COVID, and both times it happens, my hair falls out. Like I lose a lot of my hair. And I still haven't recovered from the last COVID. So I'm like, my hair used to be down to here. And I didn't cut it. I got COVID. A bunch of it fell out.
Wow.
I lost a foot.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Gosh, I haven't heard of that one. No, I haven't heard of that one. I've not, touch wood. I'm finding some wood to touch. I haven't, nobody here's had COVID. So I'm kind of thinking I must be one of those lucky people that doesn't have any symptoms when it hits me, Since I left work in 2018, I've not had any colds at all. I've not had any infections at all. I've had maybe a morning of a sore throat where I thought, ooh, I'm going to get something, but then it never came to anything, But when I was at work, I used to get sick all the fucking time. I mean, I was every winter I would have at least two episodes of, some bug. And I wonder how work has changed, because I don't work anymore, so I don't know. I haven't seen it in action, but I wonder if the whole sort of COVID experience with people staying away from work has changed the way that they deal with illness at work, because it was quite common in my office for somebody to come in that was staggering in and then coughing and spluttering and snorting all over everybody, and everybody's sitting there going, why doesn't she just go the fuck home? Is this ridiculous? But we were under such pressure not to take time off when we were ill that people used to come in when they were ill. If they possibly could get in, they would come in. I wasn't of that mind. I used to manage my sick leave, So I've got a few sick days in the bank. I'll just take some time off, and I would manage it that way.
Well, from my experience now, I went through the opposite thing. When I was working on the road, like fixing appliances, I was in strangers' homes like 5 to 8 times a day. So exposed to all sorts of petri dishes of different spectrums, especially in Ontario. I don't know what the immigration's like in Scotland, but I imagine it's nothing like here in Ontario, well, I'm in Nova Scotia now, but in Ontario, white people are the minority, like especially in Southern Ontario, like the very like vast minority is the white people. It's like the highest populations would probably be like, well, mostly Asian people. So it'd be like Indians, Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and then you also have a mix of a lot of Middle Eastern people as well. But not the European bloodlines have been very washed out, or not, maybe not bloodlines, but like just the concentration has been washed out. So I get a lot of mixes, right, of people who are eating different foods from different rounds of the world. So when I first started fixing appliances, I used to get sick a lot. Then after about a year, I didn't get sick. Nothing would touch me. Like I was probably like immune to AIDS. I was getting so much stuff on me.
That's not something you want to test, is it?
No, not at all. And then so then I started working from home, and I've gotten sicker than I've been in years, twice now since living here in Nova Scotia, living in the middle of nowhere. And my brother fixes appliances, so he brings it back home with him. So I think the lack of exposure to constant varieties has actually weakened my immune system a bit. Because I just my bubble is so much smaller now.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. I mean, I'm not working, but I am. I travel by bus all the time, so I'm probably getting that low level.
That helps.
I'm probably getting that low level exposure all the time whenever I travel anywhere. And that's that probably, you're probably right. There's probably two extremes. There's the extreme that you're in now, where you're not going to where you're not meeting lots and lots of different people, and you're traveling by car. So I guess your only exposure is when you go to town or something like that. And then there's the other extreme, which is you're as I was when I worked in an office of 1,000 people, and you're jammed next to. And it's all going round, and you can see the dominoes falling, as you watch people get sick, and so and so's off. Well, that makes sense because they were sitting next to that other person that was ill. Yeah, so there's probably two extremes that are neither which is very good for you. And then there's there's the happy medium that we were probably designed for, which is you meet a few people all the time, but you're not overwhelmed or you're not completely absent, which is probably what we're designed to work best in, I think. Yeah, it's weird,
exactly, right?
It's weird, that whole thing. And you lost your sense of smell or taste, did you?
One day, only one day this time. Last time it was like a week.
And did it come back? Did it? I'm interested in this. Did it? Because it's a sensory thing, we quite often we don't really sort of we take our senses for granted. But did flavors or smells get weird and then disappear and then come back weird, or did it just go?
This was like almost like a flip of a switch. So we had it was I can't remember if it was our first night back or was this our first full day at home. My mom had made some dinner, and my dad brought us dinner, and I ate the dinner, and the dinner tasted lovely. It was like tacos or something. Like it was like very flavorful, spicy, And it was maybe half an hour after dinner. I was laying down to go back to just lay back down in bed, and I remember not being able to sense my smell at all. I couldn't smell anything. And I remember thinking I should be able to at least smell the dog or smell something, like there was just complete absence of smell. So Megan was in the closet doing some stuff, and we have this shelf in the closet where she keeps her perfume. And I said, throw me one of your bottles of perfume, would you? And I just wanted to smell the lid, and I couldn't smell a thing. And I sprayed it on my wrist and went, no, nothing. So half an hour earlier, I was eating a meal and it tasted fine to me. And then all of a sudden, 0 cents. And within 24 hours, it was almost back to normal. So it's weird because usually when I get sick, if I lose my sense of smell, it's usually because I'm congested. Just a bunch of snot, right? There's no airflow. But with COVID, it actually turned something off because I could breathe through my nose. I could breathe through my nose and I couldn't smell. I've experienced that twice now. Out of, I don't know how many times I've had COVID. I know I had at least a handful of times before I moved out here because of my job. And I never had any symptoms other than the odd, maybe some slight dizziness or a runny nose. I never really had, I never got sick. And then when I actually got sick, I was having all the symptoms people were describing. I didn't have breathing trouble, but I had the loss of smell, the hair loss, which was, I don't think it's a huge symptom, but if you type in hair loss and COVID, they say for about 9 months, your hair goes thin and then it starts to come back again. But, I don't know if I didn't have the time.
It's a fucking weird thing, isn't it? It's definitely made in a lab, don't you think? These are not natural symptoms. These are how the hell does that evolve, that you lose your sense of smell? What possible, or that you lose your hair? I mean, it's just everything you hear about it just screams man-made lab.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you read beyond the headlines, right, like it's the lab leak theory is getting stronger and stronger for the last 3 years, right? And the proof it's been proven time and time again, but then mainstream media comes out and goes, far-right conspiracists think it's from the lab again, and then they say a bunch of anecdotal stuff that makes no sense, and people go like, oh, never mind, those guys are crazy, and then they go back to watching football, you know? So it's just... I think it's...
Yeah, go on.
It's definitely lab disease. It's definitely lab disease, and they're still working on them. Like, they're still looking to make that disease X that really is going to do the job. I think it was a failure, you know, whether it was an accidental launch or it was an intentional launch. I don't know what to believe that way, you know, but
I don't know. I think there's a thing came out recently which I didn't realize, because I'm thinking back to when we first started to sequence the genome, the human genome. And there are a whole bunch of different species where we've sequenced the whole genome, and we know where, you know, the gene for blue eyes is, or where the gene for being tall or small, or the gene for getting cancer, and all these kind of things. And I'm old enough to remember the promises that were made, you know, 30 years ago. Oh, this will lead to gene therapies, and it turns out that it hasn't led to gene therapies, not because of the conspiracy theory idea, which is that the drug companies want to suppress it, although that may actually be true, I don't know that. But it turns out apparently that when you try to switch genes off, other genes that we previously thought were dormant, and you know, just you hear about these things called junk genes. You know, it's just junk. It's just it came there, and it's not active. It doesn't do anything anymore. Well, apparently it does. If you switch off a gene trying to cure somebody from, you know, some kind of disease that they've inherited from their parents or grandparents or something, it's not simple, because other genes switch on. And sometimes when those genes switch on, it's worse than what you just switched off. So I wonder if they're having the same problem trying to manufacture whatever it is they're trying to manufacture gene-wise, you know, weaponry, or the way that they want to change the world, like kill off 80% of us, you know. I wonder if they're having the same problem. They can't. It's not the way they thought it was, where they could just switch something off or switch something on, and it's just a lot more chaotic than that, which is good news, really, I suppose, you know.